Is Mismatched a good modern graphic novel retelling of Emma? No. No, it is not. This is not a retelling of Emma. This is a complete bastardization of Jane Austen's Emma. I failed. I made a mistake. I looked at this. My senses, my spider senses went off a little bit at the cover, but then I read the top and I said, "Oh, a retelling of Emma. My niece will love Emma. It's Jane Austen. How bad could it be?" I feel so much shame. I should have picked it up and flipped through it. I'm so angry at myself for wasting my money. But now the only compensation is maybe I can stop you from wasting your money. If you want a complete bastardization of Emma that not only throws away the beautiful Edwardian setting, but also has none of the language, none of the charm and sweetness, and completely inverts the moral of Emma, then I guess Mismatched is for you. If you want some cloying gay pride month low effort propaganda with chintzy art made by people who think being gay is a personality and base that personality entirely on sitcom cliches of an effeminate, cloying, obnoxiously twee poof, then this is for you. This is corporate neoliberal drivel created by evil satanic overlords that want to mutilate children, convince tomboys to cut off their breasts, convince sensitive young men to cut off their penises because they like Sonic the Hedgehog or they like furry characters too much. Begone, Satan, evil propaganda by groomers. So that's what Mismatched is. But maybe this will give me an opportunity to talk about Jane Austen and Emma. So let's... Shame. Go to shame. We're going to talk about Emma for a little bit. So, I love Jane Austen, and one of the funny things about Jane Austen is I will talk to people about how much I love Jane Austen. They'll be like surprised. Like they'll say, "Really? Really? Isn't that like gross girl feminist stuff or what?" Especially if it's like kind of like right-wing type people online in my circles. But look. You have to read Jane Austen. The reason you should read Jane Austen, A, is her novels are actually fun, and B, she's actually taking the idea of the romance novel, which a romance novel could be complete trash, but because Jane Austen was smart and because Jane Austen was a careful observer of human nature, she took ideas from cheesy romance novels and brought them up to the level of art. And I think one of the main reasons for that is I think Austen herself, an interesting thing about Austen, she never got married herself. She writes all these amazing romance level novels that are poetic love letters to love itself. I think she understood that love is a virtue and not just a feeling. And so what that means is a guy can find something in Jane Austen that's meaningful, even though, hilariously, Jane Austen is a cliche thing girls like that men don't like. I saw a meme that was ranking the gender gap between all-time great movies, and Jane Austen was at the top of the women's list and nowhere near the top of the guys' list. So why should a guy read a Jane Austen novel? Because a Jane Austen novel is the good version of trashy Bigfoot mommy porn. If trashy Bigfoot mommy porn is about, one day I'll find a monster werewolf vampire billionaire, and even though he's a monster, I'll transform him with the power of my love. That's trash. Jane Austen, interestingly, has those girly qualities. Pride and Prejudice is about a tsundere tomboy who has a love-hate relationship with a very rich, edgy, seemingly kind of a bad boy with an arrogant streak. But inside, he secretly has a heart of gold, and she brings this... Oh, crap. Oh! I turned my phone off in the middle of my take. I was getting so animated. But what I was saying about Pride and Prejudice is it has this girlish quality, but there's also a deeper understanding of human nature that makes it more than just a silly, flighty, girlish romance. And actually, the resolution of seeing these two people come together is wonderful, and this is true of almost every Jane Austen book. But Jane Austen has a problem. Even though girls love her, in the 21st century, Jane Austen was a wealthy, from a gentleman's family, in Britain in the 1800s, Edwardian England, and she was a member of the Church of England. No, and she was white. So none of those qualities are, all of those qualities are problematic for a 21st century audience. And worst of all, Jane Austen's novels reinforce the ideas of her Christian British culture. A major plot point of Pride and Prejudice is that fornication is bad. One of the characters commits fornication because she's foolish and she doesn't pay attention to the warning signs about the evil bad boy. The characters react to this in horror because in their culture, fornication could destroy an entire family's reputation. The author, Jane Austen herself, through the narrator, comments on the fornication and clearly believes the fornication is bad and stupid and not committing fornication is good. That does not easily update to the modern 21st century world. I'm going to talk a little bit more about Jane Austen before I talk about this book. Persuasion. A major plot point in Persuasion is a girl and a guy having an argument about the battle of the sexes. And it's actually a pretty friendly debate, and it's about who is more true in their love, men or women. And the female protagonist argues in favor of the women's point of view, and the male secondary character argues in favor of the male's point of view. And I'm not going to spoil it because it's wonderful, but the reason you should read, so guys, this is for guys. The reason you should read Jane Austen is Jane Austen says things to women that if a guy said it to women, they'd call him a sexist. But because Jane Austen puts that idea in the context of a lovely romantic comedy, girls get it. If your girl gets red-pilled, she's not going to get red-pilled listening to Andrew Tate or Hannah Pearl Davis or whatever. Your girl's going to get red-pilled because she read Jane Austen and she realized, oh yeah, I shouldn't commit fornication. Oh yeah, I shouldn't be flighty and stupid. Maybe I should try to have reason and be accountable for my actions. Now, if you say that to them as a guy, you're saying that girls aren't logical? Okay, let's talk about Emma now. I kid you not. Emma ends with Emma being grateful that the dreamy and handsome and responsible Mr. Knightley taught her the value of reason. That is the end of Emma. She's so thankful, and she learned her lesson, and now she's grown up, and she's not going to be a silly girl anymore, and she's going to get married to the dreamy Mr. Knightley because she grew up and stopped being an idiot before she ruined her life. It's a happy ending. He doesn't think she's an idiot now, and now they're going to get married and have babies. So, now let's talk about Mismatched. The mistake I made is I looked at this, I saw Emma, and I just thought, oh, well, it's Emma. How bad could it be? I thought this was supposed to be like Beastie Boy, Mr. Knightley. And I even thought, that's kind of a Beastie Boy look for Mr. Knightley. But, if it's even moderately faithful, you can take a story like Emma and bring it into modern times. And as long as you are faithful to the intent, it will shine through. Clueless. I'm sure Clueless was a inspiration point for this. Clueless takes the rough plot of Emma and puts it into sort of goofy 90s American high school situation. Akira Kurosawa, Japanese director, took Shakespeare and he set Shakespeare stories in samurai times. If you take Romeo and Juliet and you put it in the 2000s and you give them guns, but you're faithful to Shakespeare, the story will still shine through because these are human stories we can connect with. That's not what this does. This is not supposed to be Mr. Knightley. This is supposed to be Emma, and Emma is now Evan. And I spent a little too long trying to figure out, is Emma supposed to be a cloyingly gay man, an effeminate, offensive, twee 90s gay stereotype guy? Or is Emma supposed to be like a post-op born woman now identifies as man? They did it. The Globalhomo got the tomboy and convinced the tomboy Zoomer to cut off her breasts. No, stop doing that to the tomboy Zoomers. So
I'm thinking it based on the broad shoulders and the chin. This is supposed to be a biological male, but you know what? Since they've completely bastardized Jane Austen's intent with Emma, death of the author. My headcanon is this is not a biological male. Clearly, the Evan is a biological woman who has identified as a boy, and really, this is the story of our Mr. Knightley. I can fix her. She may think she's a boy right now, but I can fix her. I can save the tomboy. That's my headcanon. But all right, now my silly headcanons aside, if we don't believe in death of the author, I think that Evan is supposed to be a guy who does ballet and has an Instagram and is super popular and runs basically the safe space for queer youth at the high school. So next step is, okay, so now that we're making everything gay and we're gender bending and swapping everything, can the story of Emma survive? No, it can't. But now what's interesting is there are still scenes that are based on scenes in Emma. There is a scene where the famous scene in Emma is Mr. Knightley says to Emma, "Bad form, Emma," because she's rude to someone. She just thinks she's so full. She's smart, but because she's arrogant, she doesn't think about the effect she has on other people. This is transformed to the gay love interest saying that was shit, Evan, because we can't have any form of grace or charm in our wording. Our culture is shit and diseased, so we have to take beautiful language and update it to shitty language, where everybody calls each other shit, because that's all our culture is. Now, I'll talk about this here. So, another interesting thing about this is reading this through the perspective of who is and isn't an ally. There is so much said about, creating safe spaces for queer youth. So here's our villain. I think he's supposed to be Frank Churchill or whatever. He's named Dennis. So Dennis is the bad guy. What do bad guys do in Jane Austen novels? Well, bad guys in Jane Austen novels want to fornicate with women without marrying them. Which is interestingly, we're finally reaching the point where girls are becoming self-aware of this again, that it's actually not good to sleep with the guy for 10 years and never get married to him, and then he dumps you for someone younger, and you have nothing to show for that 9-year situation ship. So in Jane Austen novels, fornicating is bad, because if a guy wants to have sex with you, he should put a ring on it. Beyonce got that right. If you want it, you should put a ring on it, and that gives you power in the relationship. I'm not going to give you sex without a commitment. So, what is it that makes Dennis a bad guy? So obviously, it can't be fornication. What is it that makes Dennis a bad guy? Well, Dennis doesn't fully respect the new definition of consent. So the subplot is. I'm just going to call this Emma because I'm sick of that. Yeah. So we're not going to call this Evan. We're going to call this Emma because that's who it's supposed to be. So Emma incorrectly assumes that Dennis is in love with someone else. Dennis puts a love note in Emma's locker, and Emma assumes that it was meant for her friend who she's allowing to use her locker. So she tries to set him up. Ha ha ha. She's not very good at matchmaking. Then Dennis gets drunk, and they give him a ride home, and Emma comes in for a kiss. So Dennis is incorrectly, he's got the fedora, he's got the Wind Waker thing, where all of the visual cues are saying, bad incel fedora with long, greasy red hair, he's white. So Dennis comes in for the kiss, and then Emma says, "Oh no, I didn't want that. That's not good." And then Dennis gets butthurt and seethes and copes about it and acts like a jerk. So the moral of the story is, if someone misinterprets a situation and goes in for a kiss, they're basically a psychopath rapist, and you should cut them out. Wow, what a lovely, wonderful group of allies. It's such a great safe. Now, everything falls apart eventually. All of the safe space stuff, when we get into the relationship dynamics, there's this whole long verbose conversation where they talk about it. So the reason why Edwardian and Victorian English people had rules about sex is that sex produces babies, and sex can pass on sexually transmitted diseases. So you don't want to have sex with just anybody. You want to have, and you could you could die in childbirth. So you ought to have sex with someone who will marry you and then take care of the children. So what are our sex rules? What are our relationship rules? Well, okay, he was out to his friends, but he wasn't out to his parents, and then he was. It all just devolves into everybody identifying as everything and everybody fucking everybody for no reason. When the whole point of Emma is that what's cute about her is that she is afraid of getting married. Her older sister has gotten married, and even a little bit of that survives. Gay boy Emma's older sister is married and has a kid, and there's kind of like this sweet thing where Emma and the guy who's supposed to be Mr. Knightley, hang out with the kid, and the kid's so cute. So marriage and sex results in new life, and this is the theme of every Jane Austen novel: is man and woman come together and create new life. But in post Obergefell world, well, that doesn't matter. It's just what you feel, and you could be gay one day or into gender queer furries the next. There are no rules, so just have sex with anybody. But then what even is the point of sex? Just masturbate. Just watch porn. What is marriage if it's not for producing children? So let's get back to Emma. Emma's afraid of love and having a relationship. She makes herself into the little matchmaker for everybody else, but she's not as good as it as she thinks she is. And the culmination of Emma's arc is to realize, I'm not God. I can't play God and play matchmaker for all these people. I should just mind my own business and stick with the guy who's faithful to me and who cares for me, and then I will have love. I don't need to play around with other people's love lives, because I have love, because I'm worthy of being loved, because I learned from my mistakes and I stopped acting like a stupid little girl. It's beautiful. You get love and you get marriage when you stop acting like a selfish idiot. I don't really want to talk about it. So what's kind of interesting about this is it follows that basic pattern of Evan realizes that he's been, basically being a busybody in all these people's relationships and apologizes for it. And then the guy who's supposed to be Mr. Knightley comes back and they get gay married or whatever. So we're still following that pattern, but there is. I'm sorry. The whole point of Jane Austen's worldview is that men and women are different, and they don't look at these things the same way. So the reason it's beautiful when they come together is the two perspectives are coming together. I think at the end of Emma has the comment that she learns reason from Mr. Knightley, but Mr. Knightley learns kind of to see the romantic side of life through Emma's eyes. Emma becomes his wife, Jack, and that gives him a new lease on life, basically. They're good for each other. So, yeah. This treats gayness as a religion. Every conversation is about the importance of gayness. You need to accept sodomy into your heart and soul, and you need to spread the good gospel of gayness around the world to the children everywhere, because being gay is your entire corporately mandated personality. Filth. Disgusting. This is going into a deep, dark recess of my corner so I can pull this out and show this to adults. My niece will not be getting to read this. I'll see if I can find... I want to see if Manga Classics has an adaptation of Emma, because I'm really happy with the Manga Classics adaptation. This is not it. That's it. Love you guys. Catch you later.